Through many social constructions, such as positioning and normalization of failure, students' behavior problems have increased and their academic success starts to dissolve. In the article, The Boy Who Had Something to Say, Collins provides a dialogue from a meeting between two teachers and a boy named Jay and Jay's grandparents. The teachers explain how Jay is disruptive in the classroom and has no self control and blurts out and argues with the teacher. The teachers perceive Jay as a bad student. Jay does not understand why he is perceived as a bad student and why blurting out answers is bad. He explains that blurting out answers allows the teachers to know his ideas. Instead of working specifically with Jay on how he can express his ideas quietly, the teacher just says, "End of story." When the grandparents asked when this occurred, the teacher said it has happened all the time and they heard of it from the previous years. I've noticed that students who have been having behavioral problems in the past follow them to the next year. It is important that teachers don't take labels from the students based on other teachers' experiences. Another similar experience with a student named Larnell experienced where he started out in a classroom engaged and eager to listen. He was following along with his class and chatting until his teacher would give instructional routines. He would follow them and understand them. However, when the assistant teacher took over for the class, he did not pick up on the teacher's instructor's routine and was called out in front of the class for not knowing what to do. He was supposed to move back to the room and didn't understand why he was being punished. This created tension and anger between the teacher and the student. The teacher needs to deal with the student in a way that is not in front of the class, because then this makes the student only defensive and will cause further problems. If issues are dealt appropriately in the beginning, then the problems won't develop. Finally, a student named Michael was interviewed about his experience in a class with a teacher whom he felt was unfair towards his punishments. He said he would walk into the classroom in a minute after the bell and be sent into in-school suspension. However, a group of white girls came in just the same time as he did, and the teacher told the girls to hurry up to class. He knew this was unfair, but the teachers and the administration was expecting nothing less, so nothing came of it. He received so many tardies and absence that then he was sent to an alternative school. Michael was taken away from a place of learning and into a place of punishment. If students are expecting to get in trouble from their teachers, then most likely they won't put effort into what they do and won't want to have academic success. Rebuilding relationships, creating a welcoming environment, having a warm demander can change the outcomes of how these students have been socially constructed. In the article, Adolescent Trust in Teachers by Anne Gregory, it explains the importance of building relationship between the teacher and the student. Building these relationships can prevent discipline problems, and most of these disciplinary problems occur within the classroom. Students who have had suspensions and disciplinary problems are at higher risk for negative long-term outcomes that continue to build from teacher to teacher. Gregory explains that in avoiding and minimizing disciplinary rates, earning the student's trust is key. Gregory states that results showed that the association between teachers' relation approach to discipline and low student defense was mediated by students' perceptions of teachers' trustworthiness. Students are engaged and cooperative with activities with teachers who focus on building these relationships and want to reduce the discipline. I have noticed in classrooms that students become more hostile and defiant when you give threats and negative reactions, but students show they want to learn when the teacher talks to the student and works the situation out. In the article looking at classroom management through the social and emotional learning lens, Jacqueline Norris explains how social and emotional learning can also dissolve discipline as well as create a welcoming environment. The term social and emotional learning means teacher self-regulation teaches self-monitoring and social skills in school settings to help reduce negative interactions. Norris explains her story about her experience as a new principal in school. She expresses how she did not feel prepared for school and stated, "Intergroup contact may reinforce perceivably held stereotypes and increase intergroup hostility unless the contact situation is constructed in such a way that provides equal status in minority and majority group members and provides strong institutional support and for positive relations. To build a more welcoming environment, the staff greets the students every morning with hello and provides a turtle zone for students who need to cool off. Notice expresses how it is important that students are expressing their emotions. With teachers and students expressing their feelings, it releases any tensions for violence and helps students self-regulate their emotion and even helps social skills in handling relationships. When the students feel safe and comfortable, they are more open to take risks, which helps their educational growth. I've experienced that at the start of the year, we told our students that we are a class family, and that changed the way that some students saw each other and created a more accepting environment. Positivity has such a large impact on students' behavior and academic success. In the article, Restorative Practices, it expresses how students learn best with positive relationships and interactions with peers. In order to have a positive atmosphere, we need to incorporate restorative practices. Restorative practices can be defined by 5 categories. The first is address and discuss the needs of the school community. The second is build healthy relationships between educators and students. The third is reduce, prevent, and improve harmful behavior. The fourth is repair and restore positive relationship. And finally, resolve conflict, hold individual groups accountable. All of these build a sense of community and build strong relationships in all the students and the teachers. There are different types of practices, such as peer mediation, which allows students to resolve a conflict being a leadership model and increase peace and reduce violence. Another practice type is circle process, which allows students to learn listening skills, respect, and problem solve. The students can discuss issues before a conflict builds up and explodes later on the day. The reason why the practices are beneficial to these students is because it can help reduce the students that act out. It minimizes harsh discipline to students, allows students to talk who have been psychological trauma and mental health issues, and showing that students are wanted to succeed. Teachers have such an influence on students, showing them you want them to succeed makes them want to succeed. Students need teachers who can appropriately balance a stern but loving teaching environment. Teachers need to be driven to become a warm demander towards their students. In the article Warm Demander Pedagogy by Fernita Orr, the term warm demander is identified as a teacher who's successful with students of color because the students believe that these teachers do not lower their standards and are willing to help them. These students need a tough-minded, no-nonsense, structures and disciplined classroom environment for kids whom society and who from society are physically and psychologically abandoned. The article expresses how students have rated their teachers, and teachers who have had high expectations for them had more respect for the teachers and gave their attention and cooperative learning. I have noticed that if a student states that something is too hard, if you say it's a challenge, but you gave them to them specifically because you know they could do it, instead of saying you better figure it out because you're expected to know this, the student would be more cooperative and want to do it. I think it is very important because students need a strong teacher who want to let the students walk and not have a teacher who has the students walk all over them, but also having a caring side and building a relationship with these students.